Adonde and Plasky, both in Los Angeles. Hold on, you're in and out. Paige and Isola also appearing. Today, Blakey, Chippy, Feisty, Eddie, and Baldy. I drink your foul ball. I've abandoned my glove. I've abandoned my glove, Adonde. I drink from the cup now. Chip Kelly, undisputed champion of off-season action. Action like Bronson here. You question just about everything he did before, so Tebow only adds to that. But when you combine the new QBs he has, Bradford and Sanchez and Barkley and Tebow, with the comments he made about his offense in the past when he was at Oregon, we should say 2011, quote, "We are not a Tim Tebow type of quarterback team," end quote. What do you make of the move, Adonde?
I question why he's doing it. I don't see the upside. And you can also praise them, I guess. I don't know what the word is for the fact they've now collected 3 of the top 5 lowest QBR quarterbacks since 2010.
Which is usually not what you go for.
3 of the lowest 5. Now, they're all on the same roster. And also the fact that Tebow really doesn't fit what they're trying to do. And he doesn't fit what most NFL teams are trying to do. You know, to John Fox's credit, they retooled their offense to suit him when he was in Denver. That's how they're successful. So I don't see how you can utilize him if he doesn't fit your normal offense.
Flashy, why is this happening?
No, you've got to realize this guy's brilliance. He collects pieces, tries to get them to fit together. You know, Tebow's career rushing yards more than the other 3 quarterbacks combined. Maybe he wants him for a run. Maybe he wants him as a third-string quarterback.
Okay.
Maybe, Tony, he's thinking about the NFL proposal that's going to eliminate PAT kicks and make it all runs. Maybe he'll be their 2-point quarterback. You don't know, but Chip Kelly, I tell you what, he's taking a chance on this. He's trying to make it work. Third-string quarterback at best. What's the harm?
So you sign off on this. How about you, Woody Page?
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, you were with Tebow from the start in Denver.
Yeah, well, I think there are a lot of ways you can utilize him, but it goes back to Chip Kelly when they were talking about when he acquired Bradford, if he was going to use that as a chip to get to Mariota. And he said, I'm the only chip here. Well, he is the chip there, and he thinks he can figure out what Belichick and Ryan didn't do, but what Fox did here, that he can figure out ways to use Tebow as maybe an H-back, that he can use him as a wildcat, as a faker. He can use him on the 2-point conversion. He can throw him out into a pass pattern. There are a lot of different ways when you've got a well-conditioned player like him. I think that he fits in Philadelphia.
Frank, how about you?
I'm the only Frank here. You know, when you talk about having 4 quarterbacks, that really means you don't have any quarterbacks. And I think Chip Kelly right now is searching, trying to figure out what he has. And I think Bill, though, is right. You're talking about a situational quarterback. I don't think he's looking at him as a starter or even second string. Every once in a while, perhaps bringing him in there on a run.
Are you all right with that?
Run, I don't have a. First of all, he's a winner. He's a good guy to have in your locker room. Why not? Chip Kelly thinks outside the box.
He is a winner. Last team he was with the Patriots. They just won the Super Bowl. Adonde, how about you?
Well, he doesn't make the locker room better for Mark Sanchez. Remember when they were in New York together, Sanchez says he didn't think it was the best situation for all of them. So now you bring the guy that made him uncomfortable once before.
Plasky?
But it's a whole different narrative now. He's not that guy we went to New York.
Right.
He's not the big matinee idol anymore. He's a comeback kid
Woodrow?
now. Whole different narrative.
He played with Riley Cooper for 4 years. They combined for 18 touchdowns and 1,500 yards. You can utilize.
Are you projecting that? Are you projecting that in Philadelphia? That type of offense? Let's ask this question: is he on the roster week 1?
Yes.
No. Yes.
Frank
yes,
says no, though. Okay. Does he play in week 1? To those who said yes, Plasky, would he? Adonde Shea said no.
I think he carries the ball once. Yes.
Okay. Basketball now. And since the home teams won 7 of 8, no game was really in doubt yesterday. Here's Blake breaking Baines a couple of times. The Clippers controlled this entire game in offense and in defense, Bill Platt. You were there. They also triggered Salty Pop afterwards. I want to know your take on that. Yours as well, Adonde. But answer this first, Plasky. Just one game or something more?
You know, you always want to say it's just one game and it involves the Spurs, but Tony, actually this felt like something more. The Spurs, I know we said this before, but they really did seem they lacked the energy and intensity that the Clippers had. The Clippers seemed like a team on a mission. The Spurs didn't seem like they could hold up. You know, that they made their run, they got even second quarter. Then the Clippers just completely blew them out. Typical of the game was Matt Barnes took, he had Baines with the ball, holding the ball together, pretty much threw him into the stands in the third
what does
quarter.
it mean?
That was kind of a key to the game. That was a key to the game. And I think that Tony Parker, for example, was completely outplayed by Chris Paul. He looked old. They all kind of looked old and I think this is real. I think this means more than one game.
Oh, we've heard that before, though. We've heard that they've been old before, Flashy. This time it's for real. How about you, Paige?
Bill, you were saying they were old 4 or 5 years ago. They've won championships since then. No, I think this is not long term. This is just one game. They have that owner going berserk in the stands. They want to come out and prove themselves. The Spurs, it looked like they did against New Orleans. I just think it's a case that once you get back to San Antonio, this series, I think, will be tied up. It's going to go 7 games and go either way. Parker's not finished in this series. Tim Duncan is still going to do a good job.
They got the better bench.
They got the better bench.
What the Clippers exploited last night, Frank, can they do that for 7 games in the series?
You know what? I definitely think they can. And the next time you tell me that the regular season doesn't mean anything, remember that on the final day of the regular season, San Antonio could have finished second. Instead, they finished sixth. And they're playing the hottest team in the NBA. There's something to be said for Doc Rivers having the Clippers playing their best basketball, and Bill hit on it. Chris Paul, since the All-Star break, it's been Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook playing as well as any 2 players. And the Spurs have lost in the first round before, guys. Let's not try to make it look like they can't be beaten.
Okay, I'm going to go to Adon now because, Jay, you were very bearish on these Clippers. It appeared going into this postseason. How do you feel about them after 1 game?
I think we should not write off the Spurs. We should write up the Clippers, though, because they did answer a lot of the doubts that I had about them. Could you get away with that bench in the playoffs when you can play your starters more? Yes, you can minimize the impact that their bench has, which might be the worst in the playoffs, but you can go 38, 40 minutes with your starters in the playoffs with more time off and longer timeouts. Blake Griffin can be more aggressive than he's been in the regular season. Jamal Crawford can be healthier than he looked down the stretch when he's dealing with that calf issue. He had 17 points last night. Matt Barnes and J.J. Redick can sustain the good play that they had rather quietly in the second half of the season.
I don't need to bring this up, Jay, but
a lot can be repeated, too. A lot of
on this very program, and that very Plasma One, when you were the lone panelist from Los Angeles, you said maybe the Clippers have grown. Was it tired of Chris Paul? Was that what you said on the show just a week ago?
Well, just when he dominates the ball. But when Blake Griffin asserts himself as the best player on the team, I think it's beneficial for the team. And it helps out Chris Paul, who had 30 points.
And now you get muted. Last word, Flashkey.
The Spurs have lost 2 bad games in a row. The Clippers have won 15 and 16. I think this means more.
All right. We've been on. We're going to move on to baseball now. The Royals and A's brawl-a-palooza. This was like a cricket match, 3 days worth, and fittingly involving a chap named Rick Laurie. The slide that led to the benches clearing, that maybe led to a text message apology, which led to the plunk, which led to the benches clearing, which led to the peg, which led to the warnings and ejections, which precipitated the Royale with cheese Herrera behind Laurie, which begat the head point that spawned the Bush League tweet. Woody, who's to blame for this weekend of Flash Blood?
It's baseball. If you want to confuse someone with somebody who's being mature and smart, Manfred, the man, has got to take this over and say it's not going to happen anymore. It's like hockey in the fights. When you have people come off the bench area, then you're going to get suspended. Well, I think that's what happens in baseball. 1 game, you're fine for leaving the bench. On Friday night, on Saturday, you are kicked out of the game.
You do understand
Sunday,
why players leave the bench, because at that point it's 9-on-1, right?
Oh, yeah. They want to go out and stand around like they're waiting for a bus to come back. Why don't you at least play paintball or something? But they don't ever do anything when they get out there.
All right, Solo, your view of this?
Hey, come on. That slide that started everything, that was completely out of line. There's one thing about playing hard. That almost looked like intent to injure. Why not be in a position where an umpire can throw a guy out for that? And then what Herrera did on Sunday. Remember, Larry was hit by a pitch on Saturday. It should have ended there. To throw behind a guy's head like that, totally out of line.
So who's to blame and what's to blame for all this? You blame Laurie for all this?
Larry, and also baseball. The rules should be changed.
Adane, how about you?
Exactly. The league should assert itself and say it will handle out all the punishment and the discipline, not leave it out to, this frontier justice that we have in baseball where 99-mile-an-hour fastball can be retribution. No, it shouldn't be that way at all. And this is not just a safety issue. It's also a time of game issue. If you're trying to shorten the time of game, then don't have these breaks when people just come out and stand and don't do anything. You don't even get to satisfy the bloodlust like you do in hockey. So shorten the game. Let them deal with it at the league office. Don't have us on the field staring at each other.
Royals have a huge chip on their shoulder. They've been hit so many pitches this year. But the way you fix all this is the umpires throw out the catcher. Don't throw out the pitcher. Throw out the catchers. Once you start ejecting catchers, this will stop because teams only have 2 catchers. The catchers are in on all these beanballs. Throw out the catcher.
Okay, so you want to toss catchers from the game in this type of instance.
Absolutely.
Woody wants to throw at anyone who leaves the bench. I think you should also throw in people who leave their position then, Woody, because you've got also the 9-on-1 scenario there.
Anybody
Good. Good. Thanks for the nod there. Good. That's all I need. We've been on. We're taking a break. Coming up, buy or sell. What has the Raptors in more trouble? Masai Ujiri's mouth, or having to go against Randy Whitman's huddle wizardry?
Geico presents Strange Saving Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Buy or
The
sell.
Raptors say they may be weary of all the trash talk. Young Raptors do get weary. But somebody should tell their GM, down 0-1 at home, down $60,000 in the wallet because Masai Ujiri went Samuel Jackson again. He was mere feet away from Commissioner Silver after they walked out onto the stage with each other, and he still cursed. Adande, do Ujiri's words matter?
They do, because he's trying to establish an identity for this team. He's trying to get people to talk about them, i.e. us on this show right now. And so his bosses have his back as well. In fact, as Adam Silver walked with Tim Tebow to the suite to watch the game, he said, you realize we're going to have to find him, right? Tebow said, that's okay.
That's what I don't understand. That he was with the commissioner 1 second, and then he curses immediately after that. Plasky, how about you?
It shows his confidence.
I think it's a great marketing tool. I think he makes about $3 million a year. It's probably worth it to him to endear himself to the fan base, to rally them around. As far as basketball is concerned, it means nothing to the players or anything like that, but it is get people come into the building charged up.
Woodrow?
It works.
Once the game starts, it doesn't matter. I don't think Paul Pierce is out there thinking about Masai Ujiri. He doesn't have to stop him. He's got to stop the Raptors. I think, though, that knowing Masai as well as I do, it's a dinosaur move. You don't want to do this when the commissioner's right there.
Yeah, when he did it last year, it seemed a little more off the cuff. This seemed a little rehearsed. I mean, you are the president of the team. Is Jerry West, Pat Riley, Wayne Embry doing something like that? To me, it looks like Paul Pierce accomplished what he wanted to. He got in their heads.
Saying Ujiri should try a little tenderness then, Frank? Buy or sell too? Guys, where are you? Wait, Otis Redding, let's live a little bit here, okay? Bob Glauber, there he is, Newsday. 1 career appearance in the show. 25 point per game scoring average, not too bad. He wrote today, could Bucs be willing to deal away the #1 pick, citing 2 sources? Bob Glauber, law blog. Tampa apparently was talking to other teams considering a trade in past weeks. Bill, buy or sell?
I love me some Bob Glauber. You know, the Bucs might just be saying, you know, Jameis Winston might not be worth all the trouble, especially with the recent lawsuit coming out. They might think Mariota doesn't work for their offense. This is a team in need of a lot of players, not just one player. Maybe they say, well, we'll give Mike Glennon a chance. He's 25 years old. We'll stock around him, build around him. I can see it happening.
I'm buying. You got to explore it. You got to look back to St. Louis Rams and what they did. They got 3 first-round draft choices and a second. If somebody's out there willing, like Philadelphia, to send you Bradford and a couple of first-round draft choices, that's what you need to do.
Well, you know, this happens all the time around the draft. But if I'm Tampa Bay, maybe I'm sold on Jameis Winston as a football player. But the character issues, they keep coming up. Why wouldn't they consider a trade?
Adande.
You're right, Frank. It does happen all the time, and that's why even though I'll buy the possibility that they're going to keep all their options open, I'm just selling all the posturing that we have every year come draft time about maybe they're going to trade. They're all trying to fool each other else. Nobody's fooling anybody.
Buy or sell 3. Scott Darling is second. Not straight, not in a row, not consecutive. Great performance because Joel Quenneville went back to Corey Crawford for Game 2's loss. So now Quenneville says they'll talk it over before Game 4 to see who starts in the net. Woody, why is this such a tough decision for Quenneville?
Well, he won a Stanley Cup with Crawford in goal, so I'm sure it's going to be a difficult move. But the Detroit Red Wings switched goaltenders in a playoff series years ago. Chris Osgood came in. They won the Stanley Cup. There are other examples. Glenn Hall. I think he's got to continue to go with Hall, but he's trying to be nice to Crawford.
Frank, is this tough for Quenneville?
No, it's not at all. Darling played 83 minutes before he gave up his first goal. This is an example of the coach wanting to talk to both players before he announces it to the media. That's what he basically did.
I'm going to say it doesn't matter as much because the Blackhawks have their firepower going right now. Kane back, Taves looks good. So it really, I'm not going to say it's irrelevant who's in goal, but I'm just saying that's not the priority right now.
But, Jay, the firepower feeds off the hot goaltender. You know how that works. Darling stopped 77 of 79 shots. The players play different when you have the confidence of a hot goaltender behind them. That's why I don't think it's much of a decision to go with the kid.
Adande, goodbye, darling. What's the last word?
I had a bunch of points when I was in Canada over the weekend, but I guess the exchange rate, it cost me coming back.
Well, yeah, you were in Canada watching basketball. You needed some osmosis to get the hockey knowledge up there in that last time. Lightning round next with Bill, Woody, and Frank. Coming up, the Mets are the hottest team in baseball. Hold on to your very cushy hat.
I had no idea that looked so terrible.
ESPN Radio.
With the action on the court, the diamond, or the gridiron.
Comes alive.
The NBA.
The San Antonio Spurs are the world champions.
Major League Baseball.
San Francisco Giants are the champions of the baseball world.
The new college football playoff.
College football playoff national champion, the Ohio State Bucs.
You're home for the best in sports play-by-play.
ESPN Radio.
Flashy Page, Isola, they're just 17. You know what I mean. Anybody's ball game in the lightning round. 8 in a row for the Mets. 3 in row for Harvey, but right, Darno, Blevins, all DLs. So you notice in the good or the bad for the Mets, Flashy.
Tony, it's the greatest theme song in baseball. I got to sing it. Meet the Mets, step right up and greet the Mets. I love the Mets right now. 4 starting pitchers with a 3.50 ERA or less. The bullpen's working. I think that pitching will remain constant on that team. This team's going to be in it for the long run.
Page.
Have you seen the Mets over the years, Bill? Have you ever seen them other than that song? This is a team that's not very good. You got to prove it to me, Tony, as you would well know, that the Mets are any good this year. They got 5 guys on the deal.
Far is that they're 10-3, best record in the National League. They've won 8 straight. Frank, you got a good eye on this.
Yeah, bring your kiddies, bring your wife. Woody, they're 10-3. The last time they were 10-3.
Settle down.
They made the playoffs. The time before that, they won a World Series. DeGrom and Harvey, that's about as good as you get right now in baseball. They'll be fine.
Lightning 2, the entire NHL's reaction to the draft lottery. Edmonton again? Woody, 4 times in 6 years, and this time for Connor McDavid. Edmonton winning the lottery. Good or not so good for NHL business?
Oh, it's great. Remember the great Gretzky when they got him? They got 2 titles out of it. This kid is going to be as good as Crosby or, I think, Gretzky. And so, yes, let's make Edmonton part of the league again.
Isola.
Nah, it would have been better if Buffalo had gotten him. Edmonton keeps getting these picks, and that's the problem with the lottery. Yes, sometimes you get a transformative player like Sidney Crosby, but Edmonton's proving they keep getting in the lottery every year. They're not getting better.
Okay, but I mean, no one's going to confuse McDavid with the last 3 #1 picks they've had. I mean, he's a generational player. Flashkey?
But still, Tony, they haven't done anything to develop these first-round picks. They don't have the money to bring in the free agents to develop them. And they've also, you know how many games, Edmonton games were on TV last year in the U.S. and NBC or NHL Network? 0. So it's almost like they're putting the kid into hiding up there. I don't think it's good for the league.
They're putting. I mean, it's a lottery, right? I mean, they're not controlling the lottery. Are you arguing that they should have had control of the lottery and put him to Buffalo or Arizona?
Patrick Ewing went to the Knicks. That's all I'm going to say.
Out of line.
Woody Page, you're the next to go. It's the last word.
Randy, you put a cord at the top. You always know which side it's
the Randy Wooden whiteboard. We'll get to that in a second. First up, though, it's going to be Flashkey and Isola. Showdown. A tradition unlike any other, except beer pong. Cubs fans drinking their foul balls next. Jetta Bill, Icy Frank. 2 quick showdowns, then 30 seconds of face time to the winner. Good luck to you both. More ingenious, quick-thinking Cub-related decision. You guys ready? Check this out. John Lester successfully getting the runner and curing his yips by throwing the whole glove over to first base. Or these two Cubs fans, one from Saturday, another from Sunday, catching a foul ball in their beer cups and chugging. Flashkey?
You know, I think the Lester thing was just kind of weird, and you still wonder about the yips. But the Cub fans, it's great to see them do something with their beer cups other than what they did with them a couple weeks ago on opening night at Wrigley Field. They're actually drinking from them. Good for them.
Well, honestly, though, it's not very clean because you think about the baseball, it's got some mud on it, maybe a little pine tar, it lands in your cup. But any female that drinks beer at a baseball game and catches a ball in it, she's okay in my book. I'm going for that.
He's wearing the Irish green sweater.
And the guys who catch beer in their cup and drink it, they're okay in your book, too.
Come on, Frank.
Are you a germaphobe, Frank? I didn't know this about you. I kind of am, but I didn't know this about you. Point, Flashkey. Showdown 2, Randy Whitman not finding the business end of his whiteboard during this time out here. Frank, let's get in Whitman's head here. What's going on?
He's thinking, I'm in Toronto, and I'm in Canada. Does that mean we're going this way, we're going that way? He's also thinking, my players, I have to do it literally for them, show them which way we're going. But you know what's going to happen? When Paul Pierce is done playing for the Wizards, wait until the comments he makes to Jackie McMullen about Randy Whitman.
No, he's saying, I want to call this play, no, this play. What play do I call? He's buying time. I'm buying time, but are they noticing what I'm doing here? What am I doing? Let me think. Yeah, he doesn't know what play to call. So he just figured he'd do it until he got confused.
Does it really matter on a whiteboard which way you're going? I mean, you could create any way you want, and you could just one team's going one way, one team's going the other way. Whitman's like, hey, what do you want from me? That's going to do it. Bill Flashkey, take your face time. 30 seconds.
Sir, 5 to 300, fellas. 5 to 300. I am thrilled that the
hold on to your butt.
21-year-old Masters champion. It shows what it's like to be a 21-year-old champion. Instead of going on some month-long hibernation or something, he went Alf and played at played at the Hilton Head at the Heritage last weekend. Finished 11th. Stayed in a house with another young golfer, a couple caddies. One of his caddy, Michael Greller, slept with the 18th pin from Augusta. In the meantime, Spieth got there late, so the winner of the Masters the next week did not even get to sleep in a master bedroom. He slept in his side room. You got to love having a 21-year-old Masters champion.
Good story, Bill.
I like that.
5 away from 300.
Looking
for that pin, that 300 win pin, that Shotski Flashkey. That's going to do it, folks. Thanks for coming around on a 23.5-hour break.
I'll be like, how many y'all?
Two of baseball's best go head-to-head in interleague action when the Tigers head to St. Louis to face the Cardinals. That one is gone! The pregame at 7 Eastern, first pitch at 8, Sunday on ESPN and ESPN Radio.